What led to his lightning motif? I was thinking I heard he had a near death experience and was wondering if that's it. There it
All right.
is,
Well,
Bubby.
first, thanks, Sean, for the question. But it wasn't a near-death experience. I literally passed away.
Wow. Spookaloo, another wonderful WrestleRoni for me and for you. Let's get it done. Let's get right down to brass tacks. We got Matthew Yeager. How we feeling, Bubby?
Feeling good. How you doing?
Doing good, man. I'm glad to have you on the show. Been a fan of your work recently. You've been doing big things up in the Pennsylvania area. How we what are we looking at this weekend? Are you going to at least be able to attend the IWC show this weekend?
Yeah, I'm still not cleared to wrestle due to
Right.
the concussion, but I am still going to be in attendance at the IWC show. I mean, we have Tommy Dreamer, the Dudley Boys, Ron Simmons, Teddy Long, and Elijah coming. Like,
Mm.
why wouldn't I be there?
Okay, I didn't figure you'd miss it for the world. Man, it is. It's a stacked card. It'll be live on Fight. If I didn't have a show of my own about 3 hours away in Parkersburg, I'd be watching it live. But hey,
I
man.
think you a double.
Oh, man. Yeah, watch it on the phone while I'm running camera ringside, Sneak a peek here and
Yeah.
there. Yeah, man. That's past IWC pay per views have been amazing this year. You and Felix Cause, how'd that come about?
Uh,
Because I love it, man.
and so me and him, we were in the same training class under Nystrom, and
Okay.
he's just a wickedly crazy dude. And I remember on his debut day, because I debuted the month right before him, he
Okay.
had this brown paper bag just in his hands randomly, and like he was going, get himself hyped up. And I'm like, what's in the bag? And he opened the bag, turned it towards me. It was sauerkraut.
Oh, wow.
There was no bag line or anything. It was a wet brown paper bag filled with sauerkraut. And that's when I knew, like, oh yeah, me and him are gonna get along. And then we just kept talking. We started doing our after show promos together, and then we just kind of got lumped in together. Our first match was as a team was against Brotherly Love. We put on, I think, a really good match with them, and since then we haven't really done much. Honestly, we're still
Well,
undefeated though.
that's still, hey, there you go. That's the way to sell it. Undefeated. Hey, we love brotherly love over here. It's a kind of a love hate relationship we got with brotherly love. What can you tell me about working that first tag match against them?
I'm not sure how Brotherly Love is down there. There might be
It depends
some.
on the month. They can be butts or they can be pretty chill sometimes, but mostly butts.
But yeah, working them, it was very nice because they were nice before and after. We shared messages in between, like, "Hey, we get to face you,"
Hmm.
and when we were out there, they were just straight menaces. And one of the big takeaways from the match is I got to whiz Ricky Dawkins.
Yes, good, good. Thank you. I want to
Ricky
publicly thank you for that.
Dawkins, he does all the whizzing himself,
And
So I
he
think it's
got
good that
whizzed.
we got a little turn, and it was whiz mixed with Yingling, so it was
Oh,
terrible for him, and I appreciated that wholeheartedly that I got to do it.
I appreciate it. Yes, good to hear. Couldn't happen to a better fella, I promise you.
I'm waiting for Rick's return so we can just run it back another time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's in the works. I'll be seeing him on Facebook already running, man. So yeah, it's coming. No doubt in my mind. It'll happen. I saw you before you got injured. Really awesome card. Pit fight. Wasn't that it? Pit fight, the annual deal. That was a really good
Yeah,
show.
it
What
was.
can you tell me about that one?
So I knew about Pit Fight from actually Ricky
Hmm.
because when I was still in training, they were posting like graphics for it back when it happened. I think like 2 years ago, and like I was thinking like, oh yeah, Pit Fight is a charity show. I love doing charity work, And
Mm.
if I ever got the opportunity to work him, I did. And it's a really cool guy who runs it. Turns out he was in a fraternity, and while going to Pittsburgh University at Greensburg, which that's a whole mouthful to say, Pittsburgh University Greensburg,
No doubt.
But when he was still in college, he decided to run these shows for charity. And he still runs them. He still does them through the school. We had a very good crowd out there.
Yeah, you
And
did.
I got to be placed in the battle royal and get my hands on Jason Hendricks.
What a
Good
scumbag, right?
good God, I wanted to get my hands on Jason Hendricks so bad, and
Everybody does. Well, what's
him
the
and
heat
Gordon is
though?
great.
Where's that beef come from? Everybody has the reasons.
Oh, I just don't like him. He's from New Jersey. I think that's mainly why. I don't
Oh,
like New
okay.
Jersey.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good folks in Jersey, but yeah, I can understand. Just Hendricks, you just look at him, you just want to headbutt him.
Yeah, he has that kind of face where you just want to punch it. Just to steal a quote from a friend, a face that a mother could hate. You know what I mean?
The poster boy.
Yeah, him and Gorgeous Gregory are doing some fun stuff. I bet they're having a really good time. It's actually Gorgeous Greg's birthday today.
Happy
I,
birthday, gorgeous Greg.
I made sure to wish him happy birthday and told him that I wish his vocal cords would just stop working permanently. God, that man just never shut his mouth. I want to shut it for him, but I gotta get the opportunity to.
Yeah, gotta wait. Shouldn't be much longer. You gotta wait, but hang in there, and you'll get to slap some people around soon.
Mm.
No doubt in my mind. But back to Hendricks. I love the kid. I'm so proud of how far he's come in such a short amount of time. He's killing it. So good on
He, he's
him. Or
he's really making his rounds. He got out to OVW. He's doing good things with
mm-hmm.
NWA Exodus Pro. He's even gone up to Canada for Greektown Wrestling,
Yep.
which Greek is a place that I really want to go, but I just don't have a passport yet. I'm still waiting for it to come. I
Right.
hope to get there up there soon. So, we can just put international wrestler in the resume. You know what I mean?
Hey, I got something that might pop you. You might enjoy this. You said Greektown, and I thought of this. Just announced this week, RSW Championship match. Special guest referee Jock Sampson. The
Jock Sampson as a special guest referee.
Yeah, Dustin Alexander against Violent Vance Desmond, Parkersburg, and Jock Sampson, guest referee.
Man, how'd you get him out of his trailer for this? You must be
Tim
paying him
Cross
pretty well.
worked his magic, man. You got me.
Yeah, I gotta say, I love Jock Sampson. He's such a good person, so amazing in the ring, and just the absolute best on the mic. He
Oh,
can definitely get a crowd behind him, make him feel any emotion that he wants to. He's in complete control when he's out there,
yeah.
and able to be with him for his last run and see it in person. It was honestly just emotional. Like
I'm
when he won
sure.
the Super Indy title and got to give it to his daughter.
Yeah,
Man, that was
I can
like
imagine.
not a single dry eye in the back.
I watched it live on Fight, but you were, like you said, you were lucky enough to be there for this final run. What can you tell me about some interactions you had with Jock or just watching this take place? What can you tell me about that? In addition to what you already said, of course.
Yeah. So interactions that I've had with Jock, they range from, in passing to full on bone on conversations. I remember my I think it was my debut. Like we were all standing in the back and I was just getting ready to do my paint. So I'm sitting there like just a Speedo,
Okay.
completely unseen. And they called for this meeting, and as we all got out there, like Jock Sampson looked at me and he's like, "You have a long ass torso," and that's all I got. And, I'm a nervous kind of guy, so I just couldn't rebuttal that at all. So I just looked at him like, and then yeah, I've had like conversations with him at the carriage and afterwards, and he's a very smart and articulate man. He described to me the balance between good and evil in wrestling, and like even like taking inspiration from the Bible.
Oh
The
wow.
Holy Book itself. Like he goes in like deep into like the layers of like the bounds of what is love to be hated, hated to be loved.
Right.
It was really great having him around, and I hope that he comes back to us, just to hang out.
For sure. For sure. That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. You mentioned painting up the torso and everything, so I said, "Ooh, we got a fan question I can just segue right into." And it's a good way to kind of dive back into you. Let's talk about Matthew Yeager a little bit here. I'll read a verbatim to you here from Sean Skaggs. Matthew Yeager is an amazing young wrestler. This should be an excellent episode. What led to his lightning motif? I was thinking I heard he had a near death experience and was wondering if that's it. There it
All right,
is,
well,
Bubby.
first, thanks, Sean, for the question. But it wasn't a near death experience. I literally passed away.
Wow.
And so here's the story. It's a little bit of a long one, but
No, you take all the time you need. How old are you at this time?
so I was 11 years old,
Okay.
and when I was 10, my dad, his uh, friend who's also in the army with him, and his son, we were all on a camping trip, and this camping trip was on my uncle's property, which was right off of 6 Mile Creek, or the Wintergreen Gorge. This place in Erie, it's a big like swim spot, hiking spot, a lot of trails, stuff like that. But there's one like special place in my heart, which was a cliff that you can jump off of into the water. And when I say
Oh,
cliff, people think, like, oh, 50 feet, 60 feet. It's like 10 feet,
all
but
right.
when we tell a story, it just gets like, larger and larger every time. Really, it was like 10, 15 feet. I was 10 years old the first time I jumped off this. What do you want?
Yeah, right.
But I remember like just being like so scared of doing it. And my dad, who's he's a pretty like tough guy, and he's like the "don't be a wuss" kind of motto.
Yeah, I
You
know the
know,
type. Believe me.
he's like, "You are not getting dinner if you don't jump off of this."
Uh-oh.
And so I'm just standing there, shivering my timbers, and then I jump off of it, and I had one of the greatest experiences of my life right there. Just a rush of endorphins, euphoria. It was crazy, and I
Nice.
immediately got up there, jumped off it again. So this is one of my favorite spots, to go to, and like every weekend, I asked my dad, like, "Can we go? Can we go?" Eventually, it was just like bugging him to the point, where he's like, "No, we're not going to go this week." And so over the course of the winter, the river freezes up. The Erie winters are a lot different than any other winter that you've ever experienced, because it is cold. There's like 18 feet of snow like overnight.
Yikes.
Absolutely insane. It was like even like just moving down to Pittsburgh to you know pursue my wrestling training. People were driving just like so slow in an inch of snow, and I just couldn't fathom that. You
Right.
see, here I am, like 6 feet of snow overnight, and we're walking to school. You know,
Okay.
but not actually walking to school. We're taking the bus.
Still, yeah.
Not
Sell it, baby.
it's not an uphill both ways kind of situation. You know what I mean? Uh, but yeah, so the spot was frozen, and I was bugging my dad, like, hey, like, when can we go? He said, like, once it all like melts away, then we'll go.
Okay.
Because I kept bugging him about it all throughout February and March. He's like, nope, it's too cold. Nope, it's too cold. The river is frozen. Get it through your head. And it was April 14th of 2014 when we went there. The snow was all completely melted, no ice, and it was fantastic. So we get there, and I immediately like just start sprinting towards the cliff. I have my shoes on, I have all my clothes on. I haven't even changed my swim trunks yet, and I just jump off because I'm just ready for that.
No
And when I
way.
and when I hit the water, I went into shock and drowned.
Oh wow.
And so, it, everyone's like, everyone like, freaks out about that. But I didn't know what happened.
Right. Yeah, you're none the wiser. Luckily. Wow.
And so I was dragged out of the water and, you know, to give me like resuscitations. And my dad's friend, like, I wish I could tell you his name, but he literally works for the CIA, so I don't think I can.
Oh, nice.
Like, tell, like,
Yeah, I ain't
it's
going down
kind of,
too because of this. Yeah, we'll leave him out of it. Redacted.
it's it's insane, like how life happens. But he was a medic, and he had like a full medical kit in his truck,
Oh, lucky you.
including an AED. You know,
Really? Okay.
yeah. Because since my heart stopped, like they were just like, listen, I can get that. And so it's about like a 8 minute down, 12 minute up kind of hike. They
Okay.
got back to me in 6 minutes. They absolutely sprinted up and down that hill, and I was resuscitated, came back, immediately rushed to the hospital, got out 3 days later. And so that's the story behind the lightning in the paint is the shock panels, which they put on, go from here to here on your side.
Okay.
So, like that paint just like resembles the moment which life was taken away from me. And I most people only have one chance at life. I got a second. So it reminds me not to waste another moment.
Good. I mean, shoo. So you were going for 6 minutes, huh?
I was gone for 8, I
8.
think.
Okay. Because I mean, yeah, it took him 6 minutes. Wow. That's insane. So
Yeah.
I'm still absorbing all this. I'm so sorry you threw me off. Like that's it. Was it the temperature of the water that sent you into shock? What happened?
Yeah, I think it was the temperature from, just like being warm to immediately shocking and cold, which is why if you're doing like any, you know, kind of swimming or something like that, you splash yourself with the pool water first before you jump in.
Right. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Not many people do that, oddly. I do it every time now. You know what I mean?
isn't that insane? And here's this place you loved and cherished, and I mean, and you have this high flying style, so we could, segue into that, how that's done. But it is crazy how things work out, how life's stranger than fiction, and you could be on here saving lives, man. Who would think jumping into a cold river could kill you? For
Yeah.
real, like who would think?
It's just it I wouldn't want anyone to take away from like that story to not take any risks or something like that because it's a one in a million chance, something crazy like that could happen.
Okay, I can
There,
appreciate that.
there's always a chance, when like you walk out of your house and immediately it gets struck by a meteor. Like
Yep.
the odds are never zero, you know. So it's like you shouldn't take, you know, so many precautions to be like, oh yeah, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to, like possibly die, and unless you're doing something like crazy stupid.
Yeah, really,
Like
really out there. But that
like
is
what what
something that we
what
both,
I learned from it to is to cherish the moments in which you have.
for sure. Yeah, it
The
sounds.
fact I'm still alive and breathing, is testament to like, I cherish these moments, and I never stopped, taking some of these risks. Like after, you know, that accident,
Mhm.
I went to gymnastics. I had 8 years in that. I did jujitsu
Oh, okay.
class 2 years, and then eventually it all led me to pro wrestling,
So
which
how'd
was
that happen? How'd that come about?
uh another one, long one, but
Oh yeah, well, I mean, we've got an hour, so we gotta lay down the framework here.
we got time. A lot of juicy details to get through.
Oh
But
yeah, juice them up.
so when I was really young, I was always watching wrestling. I don't remember a time in which I wasn't. I'm pretty sure from the moment of like 4 years old till about 11, I was glued to the screen. John Cena, obviously my hero
Heck
because I
yeah.
grew up. You know, other people have the Steve Austins, the very edgy. I have the Superman.
Hey, I got Hulk Hogan, man, so I'm with you. I feel it.
Like my two cousins, an older one and a younger one. The older one, me and him shared the same love of wrestling. We had all the games, we had the title belts, we watched every single pay-per-view together. And my little cousin could not care less.
Right.
And he was my best friend growing up. Me and him are still very, very good friends to this day. Just because you're family doesn't mean you're friends. Me and him, we were the best of friends. You
Nice.
know, and like growing up, we're always saying, like how much he just despises watching wrestling. Like he won't watch it with us. Me and his brother try to get him to our world to watch wrestling so many times. It's honestly infuriating that
Oh, I
he
know the
never
struggle.
he never got into it. He never took to it. He told me this one story which I find hilarious that like he wanted me to play games with him and he was like, "Hey, will you play a game with me?" I'm like, "No, no, I'm watching wrestling." He's like, "Well, if this guy wins, will you play with me?" And, it's like John Cena versus Hornswoggle, something like insane like that. Like, no way Hornswoggle could win.
Right.
And so I immediately took the bet. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And like Hornswoggle won. And I'm just like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah. Hey, never say
a
never in wrestling.
completely unexpected end. And so like over these years, like he's never watched it. And then I remember one night I asked him like, "Hey, do you want to hop on a game with me?"
Uh
You
huh.
know? And then he's like, "Nah, I'm watching SmackDown." I'm like, "Who the hell showed you SmackDown?" He got into it himself organically 3 years ago. He told me that his first pay-per-view was Extreme Rules something. I think it was still like pandemic era, maybe like Extreme Rules 2020.
Oh wow, what a what a pay-per-view to get you into wrestling. Mine was SummerSlam '92, and here Rey Mysterio losing an eyeball got somebody into wrestling.
Exactly. Yeah. He's like, it was probably the worst time to start watching wrestling.
There was zombies and everything. That
Oh
was the
man.
pay-per-view before.
It's so I'm just I'm not watching wrestling, often at this point,
Hmm.
but he really wants me to like watch it with him to make up for all those years in which he didn't watch it with me. And now
Right.
here I am just like, no, I don't want to watch wrestling with you.
The tables have turned.
Yeah. But it wasn't until Double or Nothing, I think 2021,
That was a good
right?
one.
Yeah. AEW, the new kids on the block. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a try.
Hmm.
And I watched it with him and immediately fell back in love with wrestling again.
Hell yeah.
I remember the first match that really stuck with me was Kenny Omega versus Pac versus Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know any storylines up to this point, so I wanted Orange Cassidy to win because he was the idiot of the group.
Right.
And like we had a really fun time. And I remember like when I was younger, I really, really wanted to be a pro wrestler. Like that's what I always grew up, wanting to be. And I somehow lost that. And so watching, wrestling again, it connected me with, the inner child, like what was before, we got older and started paying bills.
Oh yeah.
And so I was thinking, it's like, man, how do I become a pro wrestler?
Uh huh.
And so like I knew you had to go to like a school for it.
Hmm.
And so I looked up wrestling schools in my area, right? I live in Erie. The closest one to me that pops up first page of Google is ICWA, IWC's training school in Pittsburgh.
Nice.
And uh, like I'm immediately, set on like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. And so I messaged, they say like, input your first name, last name, email, like, and a couple interesting things about you. So I did that, and I didn't uh, get anything back. So I'm just thinking like, ah, yes, screw it, Fooey. It's a wasted dream. Like, why would I do it? And
Okay.
then I remember checking my spam folder because sometimes there's some very funny advertisements in your spam folder.
Oh yeah.
So I'm checking my spam folder and I see a message from Chris LaRusso, and he said like, "Hey, we're having a tryout on Tuesday. Are you willing to come?" And I'm like tomorrow, Tuesday?
Oh wow.
And so my and so I tell my grandma, like, yeah, I'm driving to Pittsburgh tomorrow. She's like, no, you're not. You are not driving to Pittsburgh. So I never
Uh,
drove the distance before, but I'm like, yeah, I need to. I'm going to do it.
uh,
And I got to the tryout, and I'm a big lifting kind of guy,
mhm.
but my cardio was not so good.
No.
And so Chris got me in there. He's like, all right, let's see you do some rolls, like forward rolls, backward rolls, that kind of thing. I'm a former gymnast, so I thought like, oh yeah, it'd be a piece of cake. So I did a couple rolls. He looked at me in the eyes and he said, not terrible.
Okay.
I I remember the first time that Chris looked at me and said that, I did my rolls good instead of
Okay.
saying not terrible. It was like 9 months into training with this guy. And so and then he's like, okay, let me see you take a bump. And so I prepared for this moment by watching a YouTube video on how to bump and then proceeding to bump in my basement on the concrete floor.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So that was my first bump I ever took. So it can't be worse than that,
Right.
right? I forget to breathe out, you know.
Okay.
My first time ever in a ring, I'm sitting there starstruck and I bump and I'm like, like immediately dying. He just looks at me, he's like, I breathe out next time. And then he tells me do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats.
Oh
And
wow.
so I do it was no problem. But then he takes me through a singular cardio drill.
Mhm.
And after, I want to say it was like 10 minutes, but it's really like 2 minutes. I'm like keeled over next to the dumpster outside about to throw up.
Nah, right.
It was very intense kind of experience. And I'm not a HIIT kind of guy, not a CrossFit kind of guy. I'm not good at cardio. I'm not used to this kind of endurance training.
Right.
And so I'm outside. Chris tells me get out of the ring before you throw up. Do not throw up in the ring because it's a big no. Never throw up in the ring.
Fair.
Outside, he gives me this speech in which in wrestling it's gonna be really taxing on your mind. It's gonna be really taxing on your body. Like you can do this for 20 years, it can go nowhere for you. It could go somewhere, but it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of insane luck. It's gonna cost a lot. Like you're gonna have to change a lot of things in your life. You're never gonna have a free weekend. And he's telling me like, all these like negative things. And then he says, like, don't give me an answer right now. Email me tomorrow. Let me know tomorrow if you want to pursue this, right?
Okay.
And so I stumble back to my car, very sweaty, very out of breath, get into my car and say, I don't need to wait till tomorrow. My answer is yes. Immediately, yes. I want to do this.
Nice.
And so that's how it came to be.
Wow. And you've come a long way in a short amount of time, and that's just not me saying it. I mean, it's documented. It's on YouTube. It's on Fight. You can see your work, man. So, props to you for sticking with it. You'd mentioned about that inner child, man. That never goes away. I was literally telling my wife this week. We was walking, and I said, "Man, I just got to quit trying to make young me happy all the time because." I get it, dude. The whole wrestling thing, yeah, we're all just big kids, man.
Mm-hmm. We're all, living up to the dream of what we saw on TV.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't it
I, I
wild? and the
I like to
characters you
talk
meet.
to friends that, like I've never lost my childlike wonder. You know, I'm always trying to figure stuff out, always asking questions, kind of deal.
Good, good. Heck yeah! What can you tell me about Larusso as a trainer? You make it, you're training and everything. Tell me about training at IWC.
So Larusso, what was my trainer? Zach Nystrom
Okay,
was my Larusso. He just did the tryout and he was there for a couple of times, but um, Nystrom was the head trainer that we had,
gotcha.
and man, Nystrom, he's really thorough with his training. Like we would spend a whole class just on you know doing a lockup,
Okay,
a whole class just on doing a body slam. Like we would get in there, we would do our warm ups, our rolls, our cardio drills, and then we learn a new thing, then practice the things that we've done before, and then we at the end do cardio. And so that was the basic structure. And then when we like learn these very like specific things,
mm-hmm.
like we find out like after a month of like you know just like very specific things, and then it would all tie together in the end.
Gotcha.
he
Now,
he really hammered in, you know, the fundamentals of wrestling, the most basic moves, but he wanted us to be executing them all perfectly.
got you. Good. I mean, the school's work speaks for itself. That goes without saying. Now, were you familiar with independent wrestling, like in your scene, before you decided to start training, or?
No, I thought in the world there was TNA, WWE, AEW, New Japan, and GCW is the only one not on TV.
Okay,
You know, and then coming into obviously in indie wrestling, I didn't realize just how much there was around me. Like,
right.
turns out going to Erie, there was PWR, and I've never even heard of PWR unless like someone were to tell me about it. So I wish more people told more people like, hey, there's a show near you.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Like you said. Yeah. It's same with me recently, man. Like back in the day, there used to be flyers. Those still help, man, because I get Facebook and stuff, but I've already got to be following RSW to see RSW. So yeah, man. You think social media has been a big help in helping you come up?
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
It's been these like I have a very specific, high flying style, which some people would call it like gift wrestling. And here's the thing, like I do these things because I love to do them, and then I post about it and it gets those views, gets those numbers up.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more views which I get, the more my name is spread around. Like, oh yeah, look at what this crazy guy can do. And that's why so many random people, different comment sections are like, oh wow, like, Yeager, he's an incredible athlete. He does things that people, never seen live before, things like that.
Yep.
And which like I'm just posting like a 2 second clip of me doing this thing when there's 6 to 8 more minutes of match in
You're
which we're just working.
you're right. You're saying wait till you see the whole thing.
Yeah, I need to see the whole thing. It's not all flippies and doodads.
Yeah, there's some other stuff going on. Exactly. I'm glad you mentioned the comments section because we did have other questions for you. Grace Duncan Harris. What should a fan expect who has never seen him in action? So if you got to sell yourself now, I guess. Sell yourself to a fan that's never seen Matthew Yeager. What do we expect?
What was their name?
Grace Duncan Harris.
Well, Grace Duncan Harris, thank you for the question. Basically, I think what you can expect is that you'll get your money's worth, because that's my honest, truthful goal in wrestling. Is that if you see Matthew Yeager on a card, you'll see him, and then think like as you're going back to your car, like wow, like I got my money's worth of this show because I do things that people have never even seen live before, things that like are just completely normal to me. Like I do a spiral tap. Like I'd assume like everybody watched TNA AJ Styles run, but they haven't, you know? They just
Right.
never seen something like that before. And so I think that with me, what you can expect is something that you just didn't expect to see when you were going to that show.
Yeah, giving a little variety to things. I appreciate it. Let's go back to your first match. Tell me about the week leading up to it, the night before. Were you nervous? Tell me about the first match. What promotion was it? What can you tell us about it?
Oh, goodness gracious. The my first match, it was very good. It was against Glenn Spector.
Oh, okay. You're in good hands.
Very good hands. Spector, he's uh absolutely amazing guy inside the ring and out. Very good worker. He knows how to get the crowd to hate him. Just hate him so much.
Right.
At, at any place you go, I never seen him, try to play the good guy. He's just always, this grizzled veteran who just hates everybody and everything, and especially, hates young boys like me in my first match leading up.
Oh
And
dear.
so, like, I I knew about the match a month beforehand because
Hmm.
they're like, "Hey, you're debuting," and I'm like thinking to myself, like, "Oh, am I ready to debut?" Like this is what 2 years of training has led up to. This is the moment that I've been waiting for. But now I'm sitting here just shivering me timbers, absolutely nervous. Like, what am I going to do? You know,
Yeah.
and then I go back, I watch all my practice matches, I go in the ring still, and it's like practice, 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 do everything that I can leading up to this moment. The night before, anytime there's something like really exciting happening the next day, I can't sleep.
Uh huh.
So I am up till like 4 a.m. I need to start driving to Pittsburgh at 8 a.m. I absolutely am just drenched in sweat, like on 3 energy drinks, trying to keep myself awake.
Right.
And I get there, you know, and while getting into my gear that my grandma made me.
Nice.
My grandma, absolute sweetheart, an amazing seamstress, by the way,
Nice. Comes in handy in your profession.
of course. And then, yeah, I'm getting all the paint on. We're working through everything, and like, I'm just sitting there, like about before we go out, because I'm the opening match,
Okay.
and I'm thinking, like I've got everything under control. We're not doing anything too insane here. All I got to do is, what we planned out. We talked through it probably about like 8 times,
Hmm.
everything that we're going to do. So now it's just the point of like, oh, everything that you're doing is completely regular. Now you just gotta, add you to it.
Okay.
And one thing is that a good friend of mine who I will leave unnamed, but she's a very prominent in IWC.
Gotcha.
She came up to me probably like 17 times telling me not to be nervous.
Did that help
And
or
it's
make you more nervous?
by the eighth time, I was like, am I supposed to be nervous? Because I think I'm doing pretty good right now. And like my buddy Sam Handeman, or the handyman,
Oh, I
as
love
people
him.
we all love handyman. He was debuting the same night as me. And so right before I go out, I just look at him because he's also nervous at the same time. And I'm saying to him, like, watch him learn.
Right?
And then go out there and have a very good match. I
Good.
did it. We didn't mess up a single thing. Didn't miss a beat, and it was very nice. And afterwards, I immediately went to the back and laid down
Did
because there was just so many like dopamine, adrenaline, like everything pumped through my system. I lay down in the back and I'm like, okay, I hope I never, like lose this feeling of just a rush afterwards.
heck yeah.
And
Good.
it was a really good time. And
Good. Heck yeah. besides that, okay, so we're talking about a top moment there, obviously. Besides that debut, what do you think the top moment for Matthew Yeager's been so far? Or
There,
your
there's
favorite?
been
It don't even have to be the top. It can be your personal favorite, even.
there's a couple of them. I'll
Oh well.
actually think about this beforehand.
Okay.
That facing my trainer Zach Nystrom at 2PW, that
Nice.
was that was a very full circle moment in which like I've been trained by this guy for 2 years, but now like I could actually step foot in the ring with him and show him what I can do, you
Yeah.
know. And it was just a very nice therapeutic like talking to him before and after the fact. It was just a very good kind of experience.
I'm
And I
sure.
lost. So I lost the match, so there's no passing the torch kind of moment. But
Well, you'll have that. You gotta lose to win, baby.
well, I'll find him in the ring again. We'll
Yeah,
see what happens. You know,
he's still doing his thing. You're young, yeah. Why not? Well, he said there was a couple, so there's one of them. What was another?
another one was Wheeling, West Virginia wrestling night. Uh, so we partnered with the Wheeling Nailers in IWC for wrestling night. So between the I don't watch hockey, so in between the innings or something, in between like the game breaks
Uh,
or whatever they have,
yeah, I don't know
right?
what
We
they are either.
so people would go and watch hockey, then come out to the lobby and watch wrestling. It was
Really?
there's like 2,000 people there, something absolutely insane. So it was a lot of people, biggest crowd I've ever worked in front of, and I get to face Jamie Jamison.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And Jamie is kind of just like a hero of mine, kind of deal.
Right?
Because he's so cool. Like I've seen him like do the toughest things in the ring known to man. He's a hardcore and like I want to go on the lines of like to death match, but he's done some pretty crazy things. And I
Yeah.
remember this one time he was facing Gory in a match at uh 2PW. I'm trying to remember the names of the shows, but they're kind of blanking on me. But
Right.
he faced him at 2PW. I remember before the match, like I had this baseball bat in my car that
Hmm.
I always keep in my car. Let's leave an elusive reason why I keep a baseball bat in my car. But
I mean, I know people
I
that do, so it happens.
I hand Jamie the bat and I say I want Gory's blood on this, and he's like done. And by the end of the match, he looked at me. He's like, I forgot to grab the bat, and I'm like, you had thumbtacks, tables. I don't care.
Right. uh,
And he's just one of like the toughest people known to man. So it'd be able to challenge myself against facing Jamie, and then even coming out with a victory somehow via a flash pin. Like it was very just like holy crap.
heck yeah.
This is a awe-inspiring experience because I watched this dude completely through training. I watched him, at other events while I still watch him now.
Uh huh.
He's having an amazing run as 2PW champion in 2PW. So I'm very excited to work with him again if the opportunity does come up. And his chops are the worst that I've ever taken. Let me tell you,
Oh yeah. The worst.
the worst. Yeah, just the most painful because he gave me a back chop,
Ooh.
which I've come to realize is his thing. He always does that,
Okay.
but I didn't realize that. So when I took one in that match in Wheeling, it was a very shocking experience. And
So,
then on the outside, he gave me this absolute Hail Mary overhand, in which immediately opened up my chest. My skin was completely raw,
oh
and I
man.
couldn't like I couldn't put on like a normal shirt for like 2 days after the fact. And it's just one shot, and I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, man, I do not want to take another ever.
You're young. Like, you're going to be taking a lot more chops. It's funny, before we did this interview, I was just watching the newest Wrestling Gets Real, and it was like the Daniel Pewter in the Royal Rumble spot, but it was an indie match. And even the promoter started chopping this dude, and I've never saw somebody's chest that bad off. It was bad. So you got a lot more chops coming, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm saying from Jamie.
From Jamie, you probably got a lot more coming from him. You know, you're in the area.
Oh goodness. I'm I'm not ready. I will take shots from anybody else. Please, no more Jamie.
You talk about him doing his hardcore stuff. That's how I found him. It was a 2PW street fight, probably about 3 years ago. And the match was incredible. I think it might have been him and I forget who he fought. I know it was an old tag partner of his. And it was a wild match. It wasn't gory. I don't know. But it was a wild match, and I became a Jamie Jameson fan. My memory sucks too.
Yeah.
What we looking ahead to? What we want to do by the end of 2024?
But in 2024, I want to get my passport, go
Nice.
go up to Canada. I want to try to travel as much as I can to different shows and areas. I was looking at promotions in Delaware, New Hampshire, even just a little bit up north to Buffalo in the New York area. I want to
Right.
go as many places that I can, you know. And so it's just expanding my travel area. I want to try to have better matches, better promos, and work on just some new stuff, things that people have never seen before.
Something new. I dig it, man. Heck yeah. Well, we're getting into the final 10 minutes of the show. In the final 10, I ask everybody, you can put out your socials, if there's any merch you're trying to sell, or if there's any words of wisdom you'd like to share, if there's anything you'd like to get off your chest, if there's anything we didn't cover during the show and you want to put out there, now's the time, my man. The platform is all yours.
Well, fantastic. So on my Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, it's all Matthew Yeager underscore or Matt Yeager underscore. And on Facebook, you can just find me, Matthew Yeager. And even on YouTube, I'm gonna try to put more matches out on there. Matthew Yeager on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it is. Maybe it isn't. Who would know? And, yeah, I want to take the little last minutes to put over some people uh,
Have at it.
who are also on the indies with me.
Yeah,
Uh,
we like to do that anyway, so if they deserve the love, put them out there.
yeah. And so Pat Angel, he's working at Rise Wrestling, a very good talent. He's just getting started in his career. He's facing Glenn Spector towards the end of the month. And so I'm really excited to go and watch that. Pat is a very good guy. And you can find him at his Instagram is the at family, ATT family, or you can just look up Pat Angel on Facebook. Very good guy. Another dude, Sam Hardway Holloway. He is just an absolute monster. Looking up at him, I literally have to look up at him. He's so tall,
Nice.
very athletic. I've never seen a dude that big move like this. And if he's just not in your promotion, then you're not winning. Uh, my fellow crewmates in the Polka Lightning Brigade, Felix Kaz and Tyler Brooks. They have a match going up against Team Storm, Jackson Argos, RC Dupree, Jack Pollock this Saturday at IWC. And if you would like to check out IWC, just look up International Wrestling Cartel or IWC, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything like that. Superstar Showdown happens this Saturday. You don't want to mix it. The Dudley Boys, Tommy Dreamer, Ron Simmons, Teddy Long, and Elijah are all going to be there in action, as I presume. And so will Channing Decker. He'll be facing Tommy Dreamer. I love
Nice.
Channing. If you don't know him, you should. Go look him up.
Super
Also,
underrated.
Sam Handyman. He's in your neighborhood fixing something right now. If you didn't know, go say hi to him. Give him a little bit of a wave. And my tag team partner, Aiden Hall, me and him are going to be returning May 3rd at Erie All Stars to face the Gator Boys, Chad Too Bad and Dutch Van Zig. Hate those guys. We're going to defeat them clean. I'm also defending on the same night my Erie All Stars Light Heavyweight Championship for the first time ever, me versus Rise. And if you'd like to check out, especially this show, May the 4th be with you from Big League Promotions. It's going to be happening Saturday, May 4th at the Erie Sports Center. It's going to be a show that you don't want to miss. A lot of action from a lot of good people. And that's pretty much
Wow.
it.
So coming back May 3rd, 2 matches. Is this your first night back, May 3rd?
Yep.
And they got you in 2 different matches. Hey, man, they must have some faith in you.
It's by my own fruition, you know.
Right. Props to you.
I want to come back to my partner because he's also returning from injury, a more serious injury than mine. He broke his collarbone, and then I, have to defend my title because I swore against this guy that I would defend it against him. He'd be the first person in which I defend against, and so coming back, me and him, we should put on a really good show.
Well, heck yeah. I kind of tiptoed around it the whole episode because I didn't know, when you were coming back. It's sooner than later, it looks like. You excited? What are we thinking right now? You feeling good?
It's something, that we'll just have to wait and see and feel out because I've been going back to the gym. I've been going back to training in a ring, but it's going to be a little bit different when the spotlight's on you. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, and I'm ready for anything.
It's good that you're aware of that you're smart enough to know, it's going to be a different circumstance. So as long as you're expecting that, I mean, that's part of the battle right there,
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. Well, we know you'll be just fine. We wish you nothing but the best. Heck yeah. Did you get everybody shouted out? I mean, we can't shout everybody that deserves it, but do we get everybody out there that should be named this episode at least?
Adam Hex, he shouted me out, even though he's somewhere in the woods, and I don't think he has a Wi-Fi connection. I also want to shout Adam Hex. How about that?
There you go. Adam Hex. There you go. What up, Adam Hex? Heck yeah, my man. I appreciate you coming on the show, Matthew Yeager. I'll ask you to hang on the line for me if you would. To the listeners, this is why we do it. We're looking at the future. Mark my words. The future of pro wrestling. I said it here. That's why we do these interviews, so we can look back years from now and say, I told you so. And I'm saying I told you so right now. Treat each other with kindness and respect. Go out there and live your dreams. And looks like IWC is in the Pittsburgh area and RSW in the Parkersburg area this weekend. Go and support some independent wrestling. We love you.